Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Into the Mind of Madness, where I go a little crazy and talk about a bunch of Heroclix stuff. I also spend a little bit of time talking about my own little life, because my own little life is part of my Heroclix? I don't know. I'm making things up. And I'm delayed. Give me a second. See if that works better. Okay. Sorry, I had a bit of a sound to video delay there. When I can see it, I'm pretty sure you guys can see it. So that said, last couple weeks we've been talking about this new Pauper format that ROC State is going to use. And, excuse me. We're going to continue that conversation. Updates in my personal life. Let's see. Do believe I figured out a way we're going to get games filmed that doesn't eat into our schedule, and then from there be a matter of editing. So games should be returning to the channel soon, though we may be taking a different approach in how we present them. My goal here, for those of you who may or may not have been keeping up, a local store has recently appeared. I got a light in the background. Give me a second. Sorry, that was bothering me. We got a new store in our locale called Dolly's, and it's a nice little store. But we play there every Sunday. And it's not completely out of the way. So what I figured I would do is I would take a little bit of time and film one of those games and maybe add some commentary over it. It won't be the usual stuff you get from me and Amber. But we might try to do that as well. It all depends on how everything kind of unfolds for us. So we're going to do up some test games. We're going to edit them up and see what we can do about, getting those out to you guys. Because I feel like we've been kind of neglecting the game content. We need to get back to that. So, I'm continuing on my diet. Hence the fact, get used to this like post-workout chic that I kind of do, where it's like a tank top and my hoodie over top of it, so you guys don't have to witness my hairy shoulders. I am doing my best to get back into some degree of shape. I know round is a shape, but I'd prefer something a little less round, less rotund. Because all things considered, I am still not used to being fat, and that's just an element in my life I have to now work at. My history is I used to be a chef / cook, and while I was doing that job, I was on my feet 12 to 16 hours a day in a blazing hot kitchen, forgetting to eat quite often too. So there goes my camera again. And as a result, I moved to a more technical job, which involves a desk, and I am more sedentary in my life now. Which means when you do that, but you maintain the diet of a skinny man who's starving himself, where I will eat large meals all the time, I kind of have to learn to control what I eat and learn to control how much exercise I get, because I don't get nearly enough in my life. That said, I am using an exercise bike every night, about half an hour, doing some sit-ups, push-ups, light weight lifting. It's like I got one dumbbell, it's at 30 pounds, and I do my best to increase my arm, or just use my arms and shoulders to just get back in better shape. Because being in better shape also helps, clear the mind, get you thinking, gives you energy. Because I was doing this for a while and then neglected it for a bit, and I found that my attitude in general wasn't doing so well. So I'm finding myself getting a little bit more energy. I'm on a low watch my carb kind of diet, so I try to do as little carbs as I possibly can, and any carbs I do take in are completely by accident, which, it is its own thing. Okay, so I think that's the element of my life that we wanted to talk about. But we now enter into the Pauper format and teams and stuff. So the first thing I want to address, somebody in the announcement post added some of their Pauper teams, and these were, I feel like, really good chances to look at what we can come up with and things that may or may not kind of go. So the first team, we're gonna do the old screen share there. I probably messed this up, didn't I? Yeah, that's the wrong one. I want to do this, but that's not set up. Okay, so here I am, and this properties should be monitor 3. Nope, that should be monitor 2. That's why. Nope, monitor 1, I guess. Well, give me a second here, guys. Sorry, I'm a bit of a hot mess here. Okay, let's try this again. Properties, monitor. Weird. Okay. Anyway, so these were presented by John Murillo, who is one of our fans, and he presented us with these teams. So the first one is Batgirl from the Harley Quinn Fast Forces. I'm going to put this together in HC Realms, and we're going to pull it up in a second. Robin from the Batman the Animated Series. And I'm slowing down because I am trying to remember what a lot of these guys do off the top of my head, and a lot of these are figures that are just kind of under the radar for me lately. Harley Quinn and the Batman and the Gotham Girls, to be brutally honest, is way under my radar, and has been way under my radar for the most part, and I really kind of gotta get better, as it were, get good. All right, so we're gonna take this team. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. We're gonna start with Batgirl. So she comes in 100 points. She's got sidestep, precision strike off the top with some super senses. I'm looking at the first 2 clicks right now. She's got a trait, dynamic duel. When Batgirl is adjacent to a friendly character named Batman or Robin, modify all of their attack values by +1. So there's all of their attack values. I'm guessing. It's adjacent. I think that means herself too. So obviously we're trying to make like a Batman Robin bubble of super high attacks. I see what's going on here. She's got range combat expert. When she uses and hit characters can't make range attacks until your next turn, which is very interesting. Late Thou, she's got incapacitate with improved targeting, ignore hindering. Late Thou perplex. She's got the Batman ally team ability. She is indomitable. At 100 points in this format, you kind of hope for that. What did I do with my life? All right, next up, Robin. This is the one from the Batman animated series, the uncommon, figure number 29. Ignores elevated and hindering terrain for movement and characters, so he's really hard to kind of hold on to. Empower, dynamic dual power is empower, but only when adjacent to a character named Batman, which in this case is going to be 2 characters named Batman. So he'll have empower for Batgirl and the 2 Batmans if they happen to be in close combat, or he will go into close combat with everybody. This Batman here, unique modifier in Batman is adjacent to a friendly character named Batgirl or Robin, modify all of their defenses by +1. So keeping all defenses up on the team. Hiding behind the mask, shape change when Batman uses it, and a result of 6, remove an action token from him. It's just really good shape change if it happens to work. And he's got some late out charge and plasticity, but he starts with some running shot, which kind of goes in well with Batgirl and the way she works. And then we got this last Batman. This, I like to call him Bat Brawler. This is the Batman Animated Series 1. Charges. He's got Perplex. He's got Indomitable. He's got 5 range. Batman ally, 50 points. So there's a lot going on in this team than a lot more than meets the eye. You have this Batman, which has Perplex. You have this Batman, who makes everybody's defense high, which should go for a long way, especially when you consider he's got the Batman ally team. Robin here is just really good support. Sorry about that. OBS decided to just stop sending information. I don't know what happened there. May also just be sending not... Well, no, my bit rate seems to be fine. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. So anyway, you got a lot of 10 attack... Or you got a lot of 11 attacks, but you also have this Batman with 10 attack, which is shameful for a Batman. Shame on you. It will be an 11 with the Batgirl. The other ones will be 12. Generally, this is one of those teams that does a lot of everything, but it does rely heavily on its stealth. And one of the characters I want to talk to today kind of laughs at that. So, but for the most part, this is just a really good, solid Batman team. That's, not offensive, not bad. Whoops. It's not offensive, not bad. It's just generally pretty okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It does exactly what you want to do. It's a lot more versatile than it looks with the 4 characters that it has. So yeah, it's a good, interesting run that could do some things. You may be finding yourself with some problems with, say, a Nimrod team because you do a lot of heavy damage to the dudes. If Nimrod can body block the rest of his stuff, the rest of his team, until they start, depending on what the team is focused on. Like, if it's a build like mine, hopefully you can keep, Nimrod as not a problem, or you can get rid of Nimrod's friends and just not have to deal with Nimrod. I hope that's kind of how you can go with it. If not, you do a lot of damage, but at the same time you do a lot of damage to yourself because you don't have a lot of damage reducers in this case. So just be wary. The man is going to be a thing in the set, and Nimrod is going to be a thing in this format. So do remember that. I'm actually putting together the other team that he sent, which is also equal parts interesting. This is a robot themed team, and one of the things we're going to cover in a later episode is what is available for theme teams that we are aware of or know that exist in the meta, or in the non-Pauper meta, that might go a long way towards being modified to the poor man's version. One of those things, often you find yourself building the poor man version of a team and for a friend, and now it's actually you're doing it for yourself. So that's kind of one of the things I really like about what's going on in this format is all those times you built the poor man version of something for a buddy. This helps a lot. Or, this format helps open that up. All right, so what do we have? We have Magneto, the Brotherhood of Mutant ones. This is the one that takes 1 damage at a time or deals 1 damage at a time until he collects some error tokens. So this is a really hard dude to kill. He's indomitable, 8 range, 2 targets, and he's got the Brotherhood of Mutants team ability. He will give anybody who kills him energy shield, but they look at the work that they have to do, right? The Ego Antibody, which is just traded plasticity, 30 points, does his thing. Cyborg, it has enhancement, and I'm sure it's for the next dude up, but also has Psychic Blast and Knockback. He's got the Titans Reborn, which unfortunately on this team isn't really going to come into effect. This Iron Man, I see where we're going. I like the idea. I'm not such a big fan of the choice. I am not offended by this Iron Man, but if you're filling up your sideline full of Iron Mans and people just decide to focus this figure down, you might have a bad time. I don't know if you're planning on bringing extras or whatnot, but they do get scored as you kill them. So, and 4 damage is not unheard of in this format. There's one thing you'll also notice is that this format does contain a lot of Perplex and a lot of Empower and a lot of Enhancement and a lot of ways to get damage up. Range Combat Expert, Close Combat Expert. Their powers we're actually going to use. So, brace yourself for that. And then, of course, we have Steel, which is probably what's going to help kind of try to keep the team alive, where he can drop from Impervious to Invulnerable and give adjacent characters +1 defense. It's not something I'm ever going to bank on, because when I need defenses to be high and hard to hit, they don't become hard to hit for some reason. I see where we're going with this team. I'm not gonna dump on it. But I think this one might need a few more iterations, to be brutally honest. So I'll reserve judgment on this one still, just because the Batman one seemed a little bit more cohesive than this. This doesn't help itself as much. Like, sure, the Iron Man has outwit, but you're not going to get another Iron Man until later. So if you push that one off of the outwit, you end up with one perplex. Steel, while he's great on the defensive and punishes people for giving him close combat attacks, I don't think that's going to come in too frequently. I think Cyborg is one of the biggest heavy hitters you have on the team. Unless you happen to be rolling a lot of ones with your Magneto, you're not going to be doing a ton of damage here. So if it were me, I'd probably go back to some of the drawing board, maybe readdress how you want to play Cyborg, how you want to play the Ego Antibody, and put a big asterisk beside Steel, because I'm not personally comfortable with him, but if you're good with him, then by all means ignore me. Anyway, so very cool teams, John, and I hope I didn't come off as too harsh on them. But the next thing I want to talk about, and we talked about my own personal Sentinel team last week. This week I want to go into a little bit more work on I was going to talk about direct team, but we do want to talk about planning elements, things that we can expect to see. And one dude he keeps kind of coming into my right in front of my face. Like, he's always kind of there saying, "Hey, Jason, we should consider this guy." And that guy's Onslaught. Onslaught is good for a great number of reasons. One of which is he can dish it and doesn't have to take it fundamental. What that means is, this is kind of along the same lines as to why, if a character, like a normal sized character, has ignored elevated terrain, it's why we want to use that. Is I'm going to sit in the middle of a building or elevated terrain, or on a part of elevated terrain that you're not going to be able to reach, and I'm just going to shoot from where I am. It's one of the bonus, like, even though Colossals, you can kind of get them back for it, it is one of those bonuses. And where Onslaught kind of excels is the fact that I'm pulling up the dial because I believe Onslaught hasn't been added yet to the HC Realms unit section. So I'm gonna have to go off of the rumors thread. Well, the HC Realms unit section is building right now. Like, they're adding to it, but it's still not quite there. Anyway, I got it. There we go. HC Realms C. So now 900, 500 don't exist. We know that, right? So 125. This is the package you get. There's a lot going on with this figure, though, that is easy to take for granted. So 9 range with 3 targets. Pay attention to that. Armor monster keyword. Monster's buildable. We'll get there. In format, it's buildable. Behind the scenes, this is an important part. Onslaught can't be targeted by opposing characters more than 5 squares away. Onslaught has a range of 9. If you are more than 5 away, you cannot return fire. And this is kind of what's one of the figures that scares me when I look at that Nimrod build, where it's like, if somebody kind of sits outside and starts poking away at the rest of my team with an Onslaught, I might end up having a bit of a problem. In addition to which, we go to the next part. One of the things that keeps coming up, and everybody wants to tell me about the skull. Well, Onslaught says the skull's cute, but he's not going to do anything to me, because the skull is, if I can draw a line of fire to you, I don't need a range to do my mind control actions. But Onslaught is protected from mind control, outwit, psychic blast, all those things we want to use on a character of this caliber. In addition to which, once per turn, Onslaught can use Incapacitate for free. mind control is free, or telekinesis is free. So effectively, he's got move and attack if you use it correctly. It'll be a little bit less damage if you use it as an attack. He's got, and we're talking full-blown move. He's got 8 movement with phasing on his first click on the dial, what we're going to be looking at. He can go 8, and then he can mind control 3 characters, or he can incapacitate someone, or you can take one of your heavy objects and chuck them at somebody 9 squares away. So he's got a full movement running shot effectively with -1 damage. Not bad. Not bad. Not a bad outlook. In addition to which, he ignores hindering terrain and characters. So if you're planning on body blocking with your Colossals in Onslaught's case, Onslaught don't care. And he starts for the first 4 clicks with this Kill You Kid marker. What a splendid idea. Also worth noting is unless the character does rooted, like, Pulse Wave or, like, penetrating damage that isn't Psychic Blast, you cannot count on ranged combat Psychic Blasting Onslaught. That's not an option you're going to have. Once he starts attacking with his 11 attack, 4 damage, he can knock back characters that can use charge or to combat reflexes. When Onslaught hits with a close attack, a hit character unequips all equipment and drops all unheld objects, and after resolutions, Onslaught knocks back a hit character 9 squares. So if you're hitting with close attacks with Onslaught, they're going away. Bye-bye. Then his Reshape Reality, which he has in his first and his last 2 clicks, probability control and shape change. When he uses probability control, re-roll an opponent's character's attack roll, and the final result is a miss. After resolutions, you may place that opposing character up to 3 squares away from the current square. So for 125 points, we're getting all of this. And that includes a 9 range probability control that doesn't care about most of the board, except in an indoor map, he will be blocked by indoor blocking. He has mind control, which, you look at, you go, what, he moves and mind controls, what's that going to do to me? And you say that until 3 mind controlled characters start pounding on your important character, or, one important character starts pounding on one less important character, and he's scoring. And what's more is if he's using this mind control, if you can intelligently use mind control to avoid being Colossal Retaliate, because there are Colossal Retaliators in the set. If I'm using your characters to attack you, Colossal Retaliation is not going to be a problem. So, all of this, don't try to mind control their Colossal Retaliators, guys. That's stupid. All of this on a package that is monster themed. Monster is strong still, because there are a lot of sub-rare commons and uncommons. Yeah. There's a lot of things below rare that have the monster keyword that this guy can use. In addition to which, you can almost mimic a very similar, if not quite different, version of a monster team. Because generally the monster swarm is, I got a dude, and I got a lot of other little dudes. So there's going to be one like focal point or less focal points, whatever, and just a sea of guys that will usually win the map roll in some way, shape, or form, just on sheer numbers. Dr. Frankenstein is in format playable. As a result, I can get Perplex for Onslaught, and I'm only at 155 points. Yeah. Another character with the monster keyword that is worth paying attention to is Proteus. Now, I'm not likely to say 150 Proteus is going to change the map of the game. I don't think that's going to happen. But 20-point Proteus for the Pauper format. He ignores blocking terrain for movement, period. Which means he can just move his 4 squares on the 20-point version. But his Warping Reality trait is where he's great. Barrier, Shape Change, Smoke Cloud. So he is traded with Shape Change. He's got Barrier, and he's got Smoke Cloud. Once per turn, Proteus can use Barrier as free, or Smoke Cloud as free, but only to generate 2 markers. Shucks. Other characters within 3 squares can't use improved abilities. Now, this is counterproductive to the Onslaught target. But Proteus does have a 5 range. If you get him outside of that 5 range, you can still use his barriers to protect your possibly exposed Onslaught. So Proteus in multiples could actually be something that is used to protect your Onslaught. Alright. So, we got possibly multiple Proteuses. We got possibly Onslaught. Believe those are the big attention draws I wanted to cover. I mean, to add to what's available, Green Dragon Puff at 75 points, he looks unassuming. Don't let him fool you. He's got that Force Blast where he moves 1 or more times during an action after resolutions. You can use Force Blast at no cost. In addition to this sidestep movement power, which says free, destroy an adjacent piece of blocking terrain. If you do, generate and hold a light object, then make a ranged object attack. Green Dragon Puff may activate this twice per turn. He can throw light objects twice at people for damage. And that's a free action. So imagine Green Dragon Puff moves 10 and attacks you twice. Each attack's only 2 damage, but attacks you twice at range. That outlook scares me. And then he ends with some blades. But Green Dragon Puff from X-Men is really good in format. But what I want to do is I want to take a couple seconds and just let's look at what's common and what's uncommon in Monster that can possibly add to, I'm going to say it, the onslaught of Onslaught. What does Monster have in common slot? Now, we've already mentioned Dr. Frankenstein. That is, I think, one of the more important support characters for the team. Common, modern age, keyword. We're going to start with commons, and then we'll look at uncommons, and then we'll peek in and see if any starters or fast forces had it. So, Monster. Okay, so we look in it. There is a zombie Abraham Lincoln that can played at multiple point values. There's the Ghost. Sorry, I am doing this without sharing like I should be doing. There we go. All right. So of course there's most of the undead set, like figures 1 through 9. All have the monster keyword because that entire set has the monster keyword. Avengers, Illuminati, and Black Panther, 125 point Hulk. Unfortunately, this Venom will be a no-go, but Lizard, monster. Morbius, monster. Morbius is a common, but he's a vampire dial. Those are always hard to justify. And the Spiders, man. But, oh, he's not here. Okay, we'll get to it. Mighty Thor Hulk is going to be a conversation we have. Not this one. Not this one. As much as, we all know the one I'm going to have a conversation about. The Outriders are also a really good way to stop support powers from trying to deal with you. And could be super frustrating at only 35 points. Rebirth also gave us Demos. And we got the Joker. Alright, so then we move our advanced search to modern uncommons with the monster. I love being able to narrow down if you are planning, a lot of people have been looking into making apps like this. If you're going to do it, make sure you have this kind of filtering. Alright, so when we get into the uncommon slot, we start with the Jackal. That face was kind of all I had for it. There's the Man Things we talked about. They're pretty good and obnoxious. Like, sometimes you're going to want to beef up your stats to attack them, and they won't let you. The Maestro, if you're up for it, I don't think you can use Maestro and Onslaught on the same team. Avengers Infinity, we have the Colossal Hulk. Again, probably not going to be used in conjunction with Onslaught. Devil, Dinosaur, and Moon Girl is an available option. Giganto, not so much. Penance. You see, as we look through this, we start to see maybe not so many options that we want to be using. But we're not out of the woods yet. Repetition Repetition is going to be key in a lot of these cases. So now we're going to look in Fast Forces in Modern with the monster keyword. And all of this is kind of based around the idea that we are looking at Onslaught as the main dude, along with multiple proteins. So we go back to Spider-Man. I think this one is just slightly a little bit more different. I didn't want to say better. That was just so we next move to starters. Let's see if anybody's got the monster keyword. The problem I think we're gonna run into is probability control. Monster lacks prob in format, and that is kind of key. So I think we may have to kind of double back to X-Men just to double check on the lower rarities to see if anything got the monster keyword that might have probability control. I want to say there was, but I don't think I'm right. All right, let's see, where are we? So we're gonna just do the scroll together. So Wolverine, no. Rogue, no. Beast, Assassin's Guild, Guard Command, Friend of Humanity, Brute, but not Monster. Negative. I apologize for the ads, but I support things I use a lot. Excuse me. We're in the uncommons now, and I'm not seeing the monster keyword show up a lot. Sabretooth. Sabretooth is a monster. Cannot deny that. And he is a monster of a dial. So maybe a decent include to back up your Onslaught. But yeah, so. And this becomes the question is, what sort of support do you have to put into the team? And I think my conclusion that I'm making here is that Onslaught himself is really good, but the level of support that you're going to get is almost all coming from Onslaught. He does have probability control himself, so that's important. And the fact that you can add like Dr. Frankenstein to add the Perplex to your team, as well as the free support, because he doesn't take a damage as well as you'd like him to. Maybe even play 1 or 2, possibly 3, if you're brave, like a guy I know. That guy's me. Multiple Proteus and some combination of 1 or 2 extra figures just to get... You will, if you play this kind of team, get those map numbers up for you, and those theme team numbers up. So control of map, taking map away from certain teams might actually be super beneficial. Like, for instance, Onslaught with 3 Proteus, maybe 3 Onslaught, Proteus, and we'll say 2 Dr. Frankensteins. Where I'm going with this here is already more characters on team than the Sentinel theme team. So depending on whether or not you want to just win the map roll right out, it's up to you. Kind of make your decision based on that. And, Pauper Format. Oh no! Oh my god. I just lied to everybody. You can't play multiple Proteus and you can't play multiple Dr. Frankensteins because this format is Highlander. So you do actually have to put a little bit more work into it. Oh my god. I just lied to everybody for like 5 minutes. Okay. So back to this. So Onslaught with 8 Proteus is going to get a little bit of defense on it, but you do have to make sure you're controlling a proper map for it. Oh my god. Oh, cancel this episode. Cancel me. So obviously now we got to really look at a lot of those little options and a lot of other things that the teams had. Dr. Frankenstein's goes up. His stock goes up a little bit more as far as importance is concerned because of what he does in addition to perplexing in the healing. So then you get an Outsider. I don't know what those things were. So 1 Proteus that. Proteus can still use barrier normally. So, if you're in a tight spot, you use the 2 and hold this position there. If you need more barrier, you use the full-blown barrier. And like you can get up to 6 barriers, I think, from a single Proteus on the right turn, so that's fine. And his Colossal Retaliation has Battle Fury, so he won't be mind controlled or incapacitated by opposing onslaughts. So they will have to TK objects at him. That's the only option they have at the full move and do something to him. They will be able to shoot at him, so on and so forth. But yeah, wow. Oh my god, brain fart on that one. Apologies. Sabretooth is probably going to be most likely played on the team now that I have come to this realization. Wow. How do I get to do this show and just be so bad at things like that? Oh well. You'll have to be wrong once, I think is the old saying. Just trying to find out what's causing my camera lag. I don't know what's up. I got new parts in my computer, but I don't think that's it, because those parts should be making things faster. Yeah. All right. So readdressing, because of Highlander, things gain a little bit more stock. I just kind of want to relook at the uncommons, just because I blew through them pretty quickly. And maybe one or two of them might actually have an increased stock with this new realization that I am bad. Oddly, I just realized the Mighty Thor Fast Forces or starter set didn't show up in my searches. And that Hulk is... Oh, he's Avengers Brute. Well, I guess that's why. Your move. Funny enough, this guy can be carried by Friends of Humanity. Deal with it. Why did I think he would be a monster? Hulk is usually a monster. Okay. Anyway. Onslaught's buildable with monster. Probably also with armor. Take it into consideration, because if people do kind of go with the Nimrod direction, Onslaught could go in a way where you force your opponent... If they go my Nimrod direction, it's going to take forever, but you could, in the end, just take their team, attack their Nimrod with it. If they happen to hit, they might happen to do damage to themselves, or just, score their Friends of Humanity whenever you can, that sort of situation. In fact, keep the Friends of Humanity numbers down whenever you can, because if they can get to 3, then the Colossal Sentinels start showing up, and those can really ruin your day very quickly. So, that said, Onslaught, possible thing in the format. Next week we'll address the Avengers team and talk about what it does and ways you can build it, and go from there. The Avengers team, of course, being that variation on Medusa, is not super complicated in how it works, but it does become... You do have to kind of dial back your understanding of the modern version of it because of how it works. Okay. So in the chat, I paused for the hesitation because I was reading. Rick has provided us with an interesting team that has a lot of really good tools, and one of which I almost forgot about because it's going to rotate in the... Sorry about hitting my microphone there. The next rotation scale. And I get a blind spot. Green Lantern, Jason. I get a bit of a blind spot to characters like I got to Harley Quinn. Mumble, 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 mumble. Troll. Alright, so I see he's got kind of a... cosmic theme going. I don't know, Rick, while you're in the chat, do you mind if I share this? Sorry. Let's do this. Let's just kind of go into the while I'm building this. You guys kind of see what's going on. So, let's start with this character, Lucy in the Sky. This is one of very few characters that have the ability to do this thing. I'm guessing when you say this, this is the Joker you're talking about. No, is it? Or Harley HQ Joker? Is this the one? It is not a theme team. Okay. No, there's no way it was this Joker. Everett Ross? Everett K. Ross? I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Giant girl. Did I spell girl wrong? I tend to do that. It's a 30-point Joker. Okay, I think that was for Batman Animated. Yeah. Batman Animated. That's the knobbed mace. Knobbed mace. Okay, so this comes with 4 student IDs and a map bonus. I believe he's looking at the Stark map bonus. You're going to lose map, but that's fine because you gain some extra prop. So what's everybody in this team doing? We're going to start backwards. We've got the Joker. If this isn't obvious, I don't know what to tell you. This is 30-point prop Joker. This Joker is bonkers. If you're playing an Arkham Asylum or Gotham City Underworld team or non-theme team, this Joker's worth it. Along with the 5-point map bonus that we're talking about. Giant girl, 10 points. I mean, she does what she do. I don't know if your plan is to use the starter giant girl or this giant girl. Both are pretty okay. Everett K. Ross. This guy is so good. He's perplex, basically, with shield, right? So, perplex. So, the potential on Everett K. Ross becomes bigger if you pay attention to what Everett K. Ross is. I just realized you're not seeing my face and my hand motion with how great he is. Everett K. Ross can get you +4 in total stats. Now, some of them are going to be limited. Allow me. When he uses Perplex, he can modify the chosen value by +2 instead. If he does, at the end of your turn, roll a d6. On a 1 to 4, deal Everett K. Ross 1 unavoidable damage. Right? That seems not great, but then you got to think you just did +2 to something. In addition to having the shield team ability. In addition to which you can use the shield team ability to give damage and range at a cost of a power action. So for 1 power action, I got +1 range, +1 damage, and +2 to anything. Now, granted, he'll have to be next to each other, next to whoever is making the attack, which becomes dicey when you see what the top 2 characters in this team and the big butts in this team are going to be doing. Big Tony is Big Tony. It's more perplex. Prez Rickard, also possible perplex. Also really good leadership so long as your opponent has been taking action tokens. Pip the Troll, capable of carrying 2 characters and can carry characters who fly. And you will be carrying characters who fly, 2 of them specifically, in the uncommon Green Lantern from Elseworlds. This is the one that has the power battery is draining. I have limited time. At the beginning of the game, you put 8 battery tokens on him, and whenever he attacks, you remove a battery token. When there's no battery tokens, he can't make range attacks or use powers or abilities. Such is life. But then he's got to make 8 attacks to lose that. I want you in a game to start counting how many attacks some of your characters, without flurry, without extra sources, who just either move an attack or just attack without extra sources of attack, count how many times they make attacks in a game. Don't think this is going to come up as frequently as some people will think it will, or see it as a downside. He's got a special attack power in his first 3 clicks that says Pulse Wave and Telekinesis. That's a pretty good power set. I don't know if you heard. And then we have Lucy in the Sky, who's got Running Shot and Pulse Wave, and a really awesome Pulse Wave. So, thanks, Rick, for kind of showing this. This is... I don't mind showing other people's teams so long as they're cool with me discussing them on the air. This is one of those teams that says, okay, I know how to deal with Nimrod. So Nimrod is no longer a problem for this team. The only big kind of glaring thing that I notice about the team is that it does take every kind of damage that you deal to it. Like Lucy in the Sky will take all damage dealt to her. Green Lantern will take all kinds of damage dealt to her. Granted, if you're going to be hitting them, you better either A, have Outwit, B, have really high attack values, or C, be making close combat attacks because they have reasonable defenses with Energy Shield, which is a really good collection of things. Pimp the Troll, of course, is phasing carry, so they're going to be in your face very quickly if you're not careful. What else? And like I said, Prez Rickard sharing an 18 defense already. In this format, really amazing. Leadership, so some of the actions that you take might not even kind of factor in. He does have to kind of travel with this team, and this team does want to get close because Lucy in the Sky has 5 range, Green Lantern has 7 range. You can get it up with Perplexes, but 4 to 3 range is where you're generally expecting to get your Pulse Waves out of. Giant Girl punishes you for attacking Green Lantern or Lucy in the Sky. Though be careful if you're using this team and you are using the Giant Girl, make sure she's going to hit. Otherwise, she's just going to be exposed and shot. Ever K. Ross, like we said, he's going to be super perplexing. Big Tony's going to be being Big Tony. And then we got the Knobbed Maze. When a hit character hits an opposing character with a close attack, modify a hit character -2, attacks -2 until your next turn. Which, when you include that on the Joker, who is able to attack, make an attack through a smoke cloud. Smoke cloud, free. Make it a close attack targeting an opposing character occupying a square with his smoke cloud marker, regardless of adjacency. Instead of normal damage, give the hit character an action token. Now, Knobbed Mace doesn't require that you're doing damage with your attack. So, you're going to get -2 to your attack if you are hit by the Joker. So, barring any kind of nightmare situation, this team could easily expect to possibly liquefy the dial that a Nimrod has. You will be hard-pressed to kind of survive this if you are relying on Nimrod. And the Nimrod teams in the current state, unless you get one heck of an extra roll out of that top, out of the top set of leaderships, and rolling in that Sentinel, you're probably going to be outranged. Worth noting, though, you are going to be using, if you're using this team, you're using your Perplexes to really get Lucy and Green Lantern out there after a singular move action, because Pip doesn't allow them to make an attack after being carried, right? Nothing that they do allows them to be making an attack after being carried. So careful positioning will be key number 1, and especially if you want to take advantage of your Pulse Wave, right? Because Lucy in the Sky's got 10, and Green Lantern's got 10 on their movement. So they got a 5 movement. So they do have like an 8 square reach, 9 squares in the case of Green Lantern. As long as the Nimrod hasn't like half-boarded you or hasn't really kind of stuck it to you, you can easily get around and get to him. And your Perplexes will help. So, and this is the thing is, right now, as we look at it, this is going to be a format where there isn't really a full-blown dominating team. Where we say Nimrod is a really strong character, this team kind of gives it some nightmares. But the ability to really mess with your opponent's formations with Onslaught could really throw this team through a loop. Now, granted, Lucy in the Sky could be TK'd up by the Green Lantern to get you a little bit of an extra bump up on the movement. Just make sure it hits, because if it doesn't, you're about to get punished hard. But that's the thing, is like, this team that was just presented to me is not infallible. My Onslaught team, not infallible. The idea of Onslaught, not infallible. Nimrod, not infallible. There are answers to everything, and this right here is a really good team, but there's a lot of situations where if certain degrees of map control could really hinder it. And, you know, if a team is capable of blocking in, and there's a lot of characters, more than you'd think, that are legal in this format that can create just blocking out of thin air. I believe Proteus is one, and I want to... Is Clara Platt... I don't think Clara Prast... Clara Prast... She's a common, and she is capable of just creating a blocking terrain. So that's like two characters. With those two characters alone, you can just pop up 3 squares of blocking terrain out of thin air. So you might run into, and Pulse Wave does have a bit of a problem with blocking terrain. So you may run into problems with that. Was having a conversation with somebody earlier, and I think it was actually in our Discord, where Exodus is also a probability controller. Exodus has also done nothing but let me down in games, but, you know, I'm my own hubris is what it is. I mean, yeah, it is going to, and Rick is in the chat, he's kind of talking it through, and yeah, this team's going to have problems with stop clicks, but in common uncommons, how many stop clicks are there really? Raise an eyebrow, look at you, spike the camera. So I don't, like, there are a fair number of characters with stop clicks. But when you're throwing 2 guys who can potentially attack at people, sometimes that's just fine. Alright, that said, I'm going to call it a night. Like I said, next week we're going to spend some time on that Avengers team. And we'll keep doing this. If you guys have teams for me, we'll talk it out. We'll put it on HC Rooms. I'll be a little bit more prepared, I think, next time. Just kind of get them ahead of time, because I kind of like this exercise, and I do like seeing what's possible in this format. And to go back, John's Batman team is very good. It's going to run into problems with certain teams, and when I'm like, it was funny that he brought his up when I came up with the idea of, oh my gosh, how good is Onslaught in this format, because a lot of common guys are going to try to rely on stealth, and common and uncommon guys are going to be able to use stealth and get away with it, whereas Onslaught's like one of the few answers to stealth in the format. So a few. There's a few others I'm sure we'll find our way through and go from there. Anyway, well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining me, Rick, and thank you, John, especially for sharing your teams with me so that we could go over some of the ideas that are coming to this format. I love the growth of this format. I love what's going on with this, and I cannot wait for States to see what comes of things as a format progresses. So in the meantime, guys, you guys have yourself a wonderful evening. Thanks for stepping into the Mind of Madness with me.